Welcome to She Lancer, Mom Entrepreneur with VoiceOver Angela. I'm your host, Angela. I'm a full-time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator, and this podcast are the audio versions of my live Q&A chats on YouTube. If you'd like to be part of the live Q&A chats, come on over to my YouTube channel, VoiceOver Angela. I'm live every Tuesday at 12 p.m. EST. We talk about voiceover, the business of voiceover, audiobooks, and so much more. Find more information on my website, voiceoverangela.com. Enjoy today's episode. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Thank you for joining me again for the live Q&A session here on my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Angela. I am a full-time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator. And my channel is dedicated to those of you just getting started out in this wonderful world of voiceover and audiobook narration. And through my channel, I share with you tips, tricks, techniques, stuff that I do every day in my own voiceover business. And then we get together in these weekly chats to talk about a topic or two. And if you haven't noticed, we've got live chat. I know some of you have asked about that before. Kind of weird. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know what you think. Anywho, today's topic, for those of you that are not new, you know, we have that poll. And today's poll is, are you satisfied with your recording space? And I think I already know the answer to this without even looking at the poll, because it never really ends, right? Your satisfaction with your recording space never really ends. You're always constantly tweaking and adding and bolstering, fluffing, moving. Never really ends, right? But it's 21 votes so far. 24% of you said yes. Interesting. 43% of you said could be better, needs improvement. 10% of you said just started building, and 24% of you haven't started yet. Perfect. So, as you know, as I stated in my intro, this channel is for mainly people that are just getting started out. I mean, all are welcome, of course. For those of you that have been in it for a while, please share your insights. Share what you have done, your tips. This is not just Angela Hour. This is a community chat. So if you have something to add, something that maybe didn't work, maybe something that did work, then please share that in the chat in the comments for everyone else. We're trying to help those that are wanting to dip their toes into this voiceover dream and to help them get to the place where they want to get to. So let's help out. So we're talking about your recording space today, obviously. I think the questions that I get most often are, should I invest in like a Whisper Room, Studio Bricks booth? Other questions I get are the ISO shield, right? I get this question a lot, especially, and I did the same thing, right? When you get the shield that it's sort of like I've seen it two different ways. It's either like a shield that just goes, it sort of mounts behind the microphone and it just sort of, I don't know, it looks like a shield, right? It goes around the sides of the microphone, or there's the ISO box, which is literally just a box and it's lined with like acoustic foam or egg crate foam or something on the inside of it. And the microphone it's nestled deep inside the box. And I had an ISO shield too in the beginning, but anyway, here's what you have to remember is that these are great in theory and could probably help some people in some situations. However, if you think about it in the most basic terms, your voice is a vibration, right? So when you're speaking, the vibration is bouncing all around everything in your room. So if you're using an ISO shield, potentially, depending on your placement, your position, your proximity to the microphone, it could help prevent some of that vibration from moving around the room. However, it's hard to completely capture that, right? So it could block some reverberation if you have a reverberant room. The shield could help, but how much? To what degree, right? The box is a great idea because it covers more of the microphone, perhaps. However, you're stuck in that one position. Same is really true for the shield too. As a voice actor, audiobook narrator, you might want to move around. You might want to gesticulate. You might want to, perhaps it's an action scene and you're doing some action. That's not going to completely prevent that vibration from escaping the shield or the box if you're moving around. Or if you're an audiobook narrator and you're narrating, it means you're kind of stuck in this one perfect sweet spot that doesn't allow any vibration to escape at all, right? You're much better off treating the room you're in. Now, you've probably heard me say many times when you're becoming a voice actor or an audiobook narrator, you want to be comfortable, right? You're going to be sitting for long periods of time. And you really need a dedicated recording space, meaning that you're in a space where you can set up all of your equipment. You can treat the space accordingly, treat the walls, the ceiling, the floor, your desktop in front of you. You're able to do that without interfering with everyday life elsewhere. There have been some people that I know, some very prominent people that I know, that had a portable booth or a hobo fort is what he called it, that they take down every night and then reassemble every night or vice versa, whatever their work schedule was. But they were able to put it up and take it down as needed. It's not ideal, but it definitely a possibility. And how they did it was that they would take a PVC pipe. So you go to your local hardware store and you get, first, figure out where you're going to do this, right? Take some measurements and get some PVC pipe where you could, with the little elbows, sort of like erector set Lincoln logs, where you're sort of just building an armature. And then you're draping a duvet, blankets, moving blankets, something thick that can absorb the vibration of your voice around that armature. And then you are in the middle of it. Now, when you're taking measurements, if this is the route that you're going to go, if you're taking measurements on this, make sure that you make it tall enough for you to stand, that it's wide enough for you to move around, that you can actually move, that you're not just stuck like this while you're trying to narrate, because rule number one, you want to be comfortable. So something to keep in mind. But you're much better off treating a space, because once you have everything set up and no one else preferably comes into your space to mess with anything or touch anything, then you know that that sound is going to be consistent from order to order, from job to job, from audiobook file to audiobook file, that sound stays consistent. The microphone is in the same place, right? The walls around you don't change, the floor beneath you, the ceiling above you, so on and so on. So rule number one, you get comfortable, move everything to you in terms of microphone. Whatever else you need to complete the job, keyboard, mouse, monitor, everything gets moved to you. And then the walls around you, ceiling, again, floor, desktop even, if it's a wide desktop, those are all treated. And then preferably, after that, nothing else moves, right? Again, consistency is important in how you sound. When it comes to the booths, when we're talking about whisper rooms or the Studio Bricks, I like the VO edition. I would love to have one of those. I would love to have a Studio Bricks VO edition. Believe me, I would. But the way that my house is sort of designed, I have no room for one. So I just took this weird, I don't even know what this room is. I think it's like a storage closet slash office, although it's morbidly small for an office, but hey, it works, right? Again, it doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to sound good, right? So I took this weird little 5x6 room and converted it into a studio. And effectively, it's sort of like a whisper room booth, except without the triple wall isolation and all that stuff. But I would love to have one of those because I'm sure the sound and the soundproofing would be greatly appreciated. It was sort of a tangent, kind of a tangent. What else are we missing? In terms of what kind of materials to use around you, you definitely want something that's going to be dense, right? To help absorb or dampen that reverberation, but not too much where your voice doesn't have any kind of life, which we call dead. It's a dead room, where it just sounds flat or boxy, right? Even boxy could be a little reverberant. Then we're getting into particulars, but I think once you have a space selected and once you have all of your equipment in it, and then you have done your best at what you guesstimate would help dampen the vibration in your room, your best bet is to find an audio engineer that will do a booth audit for you. Or at the very least, as I always say, join the groups, join the peer groups, the workshops, where you can provide demos and then ask for feedback. And then if there's somebody in the group that has that ear, that educated ear, they can perhaps help you and give you some tips into what to fix, what to move, that sort of thing. But ultimately, feedback is important on how it sounds, because even if you've built your space in a way that you think sounds good, it's highly likely that you could just become accustomed to the way that your space sounds, not really knowing or understanding yet, because you have yet to develop that ear. That there may be a little bit of echo, maybe it's a little too dead sounding, maybe there's just something off. Maybe the microphone is way too far away. Maybe the microphone is turned completely the wrong way. Maybe you're talking into the top of your microphone where it's a front address and you need to be talking into the front. Feedback is essential. It doesn't mean that if someone gives you feedback on your space, you have to be open to it because people are just trying to help, right? Don't take it as that you're inept, you don't know what you're doing. You're learning, right? So, and again, I've found this community, this voiceover community that we're in, this industry, by and large, most everyone is helpful and supportive. So if someone is offering help, take it, right? It doesn't mean that you stink or whatever. You're learning. So give yourself some grace, right? But let's go through the comments because we have a lot of great people that join the live every week that have just this ear and you guys probably know who I'm talking about already, and I know he's here, that have great advice on what to use, what not to use. So let's get over to the comments. Let's take this off. Let's see who was first in. Of course. Hi, Caesar. Caesar's here. Oh, hi, Angela. You know me. Everything could be a little bit better. I'd like more low-end absorption via bass traps. It'll help with recording and monitoring accuracy via studio speakers. Now, not everybody monitors while they record. This isn't to you, Caesar, just to everyone else watching that's just getting started. Some people like to wear headphones while they record so they can hear themselves as they record. That way you can clearly hear if there is maybe some reverb going on, or if you sound too dead, or if there's some mouth noise going on and you need to take that swig of water, whatever it is, if there's a buzz, right? So you can actively hear in real time if there's something amiss or something off about the way that you sound or the way that your space sounds. I, for one, don't do that because it's too distracting. It's too distracting for me and it makes me a little bit claustrophobic to have the headphones on while I record. I like to be unencumbered when I record. So there's no really right way to do it. Just, again, preference. It comes down to what makes you comfortable. So record and monitor the way that you want to. But Caesar is one that likes to monitor while he records. I also would like to double up on the mass-loaded vinyl on the door leading to the hallway. I may even add insulating foam on top of that for added soundproofing. Other than that, my studio sounds great. Interesting. Now, for those of you that have, if you own your home or, what Caesar's he is dedicated to doing whatever he can to make his sound the best. Now, there are a lot of us that have rental homes, or maybe you own your home or you're buying your home, and you don't want to do that much work to your space, and that's totally fine too. Caesar is sort of on this whole other level over here. And I realize that most of you just getting started out just want to dip your toes in and see if this is actually something that you want to do. And you're not really ready to spray insulating foam all over your doors and walls. I get that. But I could tell you what I did. In the beginning, when I was still kind of dipping my toes in to see if this is something I wanted to do, what I did is that I'd take, and I'm not saying this is absolutely the right way to go about it, but I could tell you that this sort of worked in the beginning while I was getting started. But anyway, the sections of foam, the squares of acoustic foam that you can find everywhere, I didn't want to use spray adhesive and stick them on the wall because in my head I was picturing the little bits of foam that would be left over on the wall that I'd have to scrape off with a putty knife later. I was picturing that in my head, and I don't want to do that. So I tried tacking them to the wall. That didn't stick, because the foam, as soon as it expands back out after you stick the tack in, it just pushes the tack right out and they fall on the floor. So what I did was that I went to my local hobby store and got giant bits of poster board. And then I would use spray adhesive and adhere those sections of foam, those squares of foam, onto the poster board, and then tacked the poster board onto the wall, right? And I left a little bit of that poster board exposed so I could effectively put that tack in without it being pushed back out by the foam. So that's what I did, and then I had those all over the walls. And it worked for the most part. There was still a little bit of echo, but I don't think that I covered the walls quite effectively, I suppose. But that's an idea for you if you're in that spot. Ultimately, I just gutted the room. Once I went full time, I completely gutted this room and then just draped everything. I still have acoustic foam on the walls, but then over top of that, I draped everything with these moving blankets just for a little bit of added covering every inch to squish the reverb issue. Because with this room being so small, I can literally touch both walls just sitting here. So it's very small. So the chances of reverb are very high. But that's basically what I did. I don't want to go on a whole other tangent. Let's get back to the comments. Caesar says, that said, hello, everyone. I'm doing more duets now, so I pulled the trigger on a proper webcam. It helps get the best performance when actors can react to their partner's emotional shifts. Love it. Good for you, Caesar. I'm proud of you. And because I have a penchant for overkill, you don't say, I got a gimbal mounted, AI assisted, gesture detecting, voice command capable 4K HDR high frame rate webcam. Oh, God. I'm sure I'll find a way to just. I think that's awesome. What does the AI do? What assistance does the AI give you in your webcam? With the tracking? What does it do? Inquiring minds want to know. Paul was here. He brought tacos and donuts. What a combo. Tacos, yes, because it's Tuesday. It's Taco Tuesday. Donuts are required if you're late. And technically, you were here before me, so donuts were not necessary. However, appreciated. Always room for donuts. So thank you, sir. Chris, hey, Chris. You'll never be fully happy with your setup. You're going to want to improve it. To her point, as your ear improves, as you're able to start picking out the little things that could be wrong or could need to be adjusted, then you'll start wanting to improve upon them, right? It's like as you develop that ear, you'll start to hear those things a little bit easier and you'll just be constantly improving. Just remember, today's work funds tomorrow's upgrades. So just do it. Record something amazing. No excuses. Well said, Chris. And to that point, you learn so much more by doing. So just sitting back and being stuck in that learning stage, we've all been there. We're watching all the videos and then we're going, okay, well, I need this and I can't do this until I have this. You keep yourself stuck in that stage telling yourself that you can't move forward until you have X, Y, and Z. But you can't start to develop that ear. You can't start to win any jobs. You can't start to learn what niches you like the best. You can't start building that book of business. You can't learn what best, thumbnails work on your Fiverr gig page, or whatever it is. You can't learn that stuff. All of that experience comes with experience, and you can't experience it until you just jump in. So build your space and start recording stuff. And again, always get feedback. Join those groups. Get feedback on how you're doing, how your performance sounds, how your space sounds, right? And just get in it. Just get in it. Get the training, get all the other stuff concurrently with you doing it, because you'll learn a whole lot more by doing than staying stagnant by, getting the training and stuff in the beginning is great. Great, do it. But don't just sit back and not actively get involved and actively record. Do it all at the same time, because you'll learn so much more by doing. Katya's got extra creamy donuts and buttery croissants for every... Oh. I hear my stomach growling. I'm hungry. That sounds amazing. I'm so hungry. Joe is here. Hey, Joe. It's a rare studio that couldn't improve their acoustic treatment. I know mine will benefit from upcoming project. Yay! 4-inch Rockwool with 4-inch... Wow. Dude, I wonder if I could now. This might be a dangerous conversation to have today. I might have to gut this room again. Oh boy. Good for you. That's awesome. Kat says, good morning from Washington. I'm planning a blanket booth. I must clear the space first, but then I'm going to tuck my computer into the closet and run cables into the booth that I make. Rather than a PVC frame. I'm going to have black pipe hanging from the ceiling and the blankets hanging from adjustable boot clip hangers. The boot clip hangers will create folds in the material. Very nice. Look at you. Guys got some very creative. Very creative. So if you haven't built your booth yet, this sounds like this is going to be some great little tidbits, little nuggets of information from those of you in the chat. It's fabulous. And if you haven't built your booth yet, if you have questions, now is the time to ask them. You've got some great creative and technically minded minds in here. Technically minded minds? You know what I mean. So ask your questions. My stomach's growling. I hope you guys can't hear it. Jim says, if I'm going to record sitting down, some changes are necessary in the sound absorption area. You should allow yourself the ability to either sit or stand. And again, this isn't to you directly, Jim, but just for everybody watching. If you're going to record audiobooks primarily, you're probably more than likely going to want to sit for the majority of it, because audiobooks are marathons. They take a lot of time. There's a lot of narration involved. But if you want to also dabble into, let's just say, animation work, commercials, things where you might need to get a little bit more animated and you need a little bit more of that diaphragmatic control, right? Standing up will definitely help in that endeavor. So giving yourself the space and the ability to stand in addition to sit, if you can do both in your space, that would be ideal. I cannot in this space. I have enough room for a chair in the center, so I can't stand. I wish I could, but this is kind of my spot. So ideally, if you can do both, you'll be better off. So that's where I was going with that. So if you are building your space, address not just what's directly around you as you're sitting, but also address what's above you as well, right? So for a space this small for me, I had to literally drape every inch of this room. The ceiling, the floor was already carpeted, but every inch of wall, not just what's directly around you, but what also is above that. So the ceiling, right? The walls beneath. I mean, don't just go around with like a stripe of acoustic treatment just directly around where you're sitting, because again, your voice is a vibration. It's not going to stay directly what's, perpendicular to you. It's going to go above. It's going to go this way. It's going to go there and then bounce off of that and then bounce off of that and then into the mic and create the reverb, right? So you want to be cognizant of all of those bare walls, floors, ceilings around you. Not that you have multiple ceilings around you. We usually just have one ceiling. I need more coffee. Katya says to Joe, I was late 2 weeks ago and couldn't make last week's. Hence the donuts and croissants. I'll take them. I'm not ever going to turn away a donut or a croissant. Paul is here. Hi, Angela et al. Am I happy with my studio? No, not completely. But work is rolling in, and so long as it does, I'm not rushing to change anything major. And that's a good point, too. I mean, technically, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Because another thing I learned very quickly, even if you change the smallest of things in your recording space, that has the potential to change your overall sound, right? Especially if you're moving the microphone, like mic proximity, or even just the walls around you, right? Treating those can make such a big impact on your sound. Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca. Hello, all. I'm happy with my current setup for the sole factor that it works, and I've gotten work. I still look around and think of all the improvements that could be made after a few more jobs. I mean, it might be worth it, Rebecca. You never know. Joe says, to Cat, sounds fun, but just be aware the total load you end up suspending, guess you found some solid anchor points. Oh, yeah, we're talking about the booth build with the hanging black PVC. Alicia, hello. Good morning. Rustic Hillbilly says, hi all. Good morning to you. I'm glad you're here. Kat says, yes, ceiling trusses. Wow. So creative. I mean, do what you got to do, right? It don't have to be pretty. Just has to sound good. Dylan's here. Hey, Dylan. Good afternoon, all. Just finished lighting my new studio this morning. Does that mean late last night? Now I just need to move my gear in and get a sample to my tech guy. It's Caesar. I need to get a sample to Caesar. Caesar wants to know, Jim, how does the sound quality change whether you're sitting down or standing up? Caesar says to Dylan, psst, opens trench coat. Want an effects rack? Hey, psst, hey, I got something for you. Katya says, I have a Shield and not really sure if it's making a difference. I had the same experience. Again, I had one in the beginning. And to remind you, when I first started, I mean, don't ever feel bad about your recording space, because I'll tell you what I did. Like my very first time delving into the voiceover world, I had a Blue Yeti mic, which is not a bad mic. That's not my point. My point is that I was recording voiceover with my laptop right next to my mic on a glass dining room table in the living room with untreated walls. Imagine how that sounded. And then I started to learn, right? So this really one of the main reasons for this channel was to share with you the dumb stuff I did, not knowing that it was dumb stuff, right? And to make you feel a little bit better about maybe the decisions that you're making, and perhaps even keep you or help you from keeping those, making those mistakes, right? Because I didn't know. And it's okay not to know. You don't know anything yet, right? You're learning. So that was one of the reasons I wanted to do this channel, was to help you from doing that same stuff that I did. And I'm not sure if those shields really make much of a difference unless you've got, it's like in the perfect sweet spot, you know, and even then it just a fraction of the reverb it's going to catch. I don't know. Saxon says, so far got a portable booth that's like one of those foldable cube with egg crate inside. Looking forward to seeing other options. So when you say a portable booth, are you in it? Are you like in the middle of like a booth that surrounds you? Or is it one of those like boxes that goes around the mic that we talked about in the very beginning? Because I don't know how much those actually help. I was like, what is that noise going on in the kitchen? It was the cat feeder, but it was extremely loud. It's like, what is crashing? Squirrel. Portable booth. Yeah, I've seen that terminology used for both. For a booth that you stand in, and then also like the booth that just goes around the microphone. I don't know how much those actually really help. Oh, we got a super chat. Hang on. I'm coming. Holy Moses. Got a lot of comments. Sean Lester, thank you for the super chat. Sean, I appreciate you. My booth is my happy place. You know, I think you're right. Every time that we see you in group, you're just so extremely happy. I don't think I've ever seen you outside of your booth. And you're always very happy, so I have to think that you're onto something there. Black, non-stimulating, like being in outer space. Perfect for seeing nothing but what is in my imagination. My why is how often do you, or question rather, my question is how often do you tweak your space? Oh boy. I would have to say, if you can even call it a tweak, is when I added the second monitor in here. But that really has nothing to do with the sound, per se. The last time I adjusted my room for sound was when I went full-time over 5 years ago. So I haven't touched anything in here sound quality-wise in over 5 years. Because I think it sounds okay. I would never use the word perfect, because you know how much I hate that dang word. I'm satisfied with it. And no one has said otherwise, right? None of my clients have said, hey, this sounds like an issue. No one in my group has said anything, hey, this sounds like an issue. So I'm, for right now, it ain't broke, so I'm not fixing it. So I haven't tweaked anything in a very long time. But it doesn't mean that it probably doesn't need it somewhere. There probably is some improvement that I can make to it. I'm just not aware of it. So I think if I probably went back to an audio engineer, they could tell me that there's something that needs improvement. But as of right now, I'm satisfied with the way that it sounds. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you, Sean. Always great questions you ask. I have to find where we left off. Hold on. Wow, we have so many comments. Hold on. Oh my God, where did we leave off? Here we go. Okay. Saxon says, oh, nope, that's where we left off with the portable booth. And then Ken, here we go. Ken P says, just getting started with VOs so far. Lots of comforters on the wall and hanging from the ceiling. Pretty quiet, but can still hear traffic and outside noise. That is the thing. You can treat the inside of your space so your sound quality is great, but it doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to be sound proof. There's a difference between treating for sound and then sound proof, right? My space is definitely not sound proof. That is the one biggest benefit from having a sound booth, namely like a Whisper Room booth or a Studio Bricks booth, that they are sound proof. Probably to an extent, but enough that you won't have to worry about the plane overhead, the kids in the next room, so on and so forth. As I've mentioned before, I have a playground that's like 15 feet away from my studio. So when the kids are out playing in the middle of the day, and summer's a-coming, I'm sure I'm going to have lots of noise to contend with. That is the one thing that I would definitely like to do to my space, just to soundproof it. However, it would definitely take some work to convert this room into a soundproof room, which is going to be a costly endeavor, I'm sure. But if there's traffic and outside noise, that could be, because that, if it's like a constant issue, then you might need to take some extra steps to treat the interior of your room to help dampen that noise from the outside, or just redirect traffic. But I wouldn't advise that. Don't do that. But there is definitely a difference between the two. Tanya says, evening all. Good evening, Tanya. She has one of the most beautiful voices I've ever heard, this woman. Beautiful voice, woman. I'm using a treated spare room, but saving up for a TARDIS blue booth. Oh, I've seen those. That's so cool. Why not? Have fun. Jim says, my standing and sitting positions are about 90 degrees different, so I have to set up a way to hold up the absorbing surfaces to eat the sound. Lots of blankets and quilts to hang for that. I see. Okay. So it sounds like you might just need to address all the walls around you and ceiling, as I mentioned before, to accommodate either sitting or standing. So you have the ability to do both. Masonry Construction says, I work out of my home office. Few flat surfaces, quiet neighborhood, simple needs. I narrate, edit with Descript, and my Fiverr tech handles mastering for ACX. 6 books so far, 1 to 3 finished hours each, nonfiction. So you hire someone to do your ACX mastering on Fiverr? Kimberly says, mine works, but I am really itching for an actual booth so I can get my closet back. Any recommendations on where to find plans for a solid DIY booth? You know, I've seen quite a few YouTube channels that have done videos, really great videos on DIY booths, building a booth. I know I've got some people in my Platinum group that have built booths, like plywood, rock wool, air gaps, as we mentioned before. I mean, the whole thing. So it's totally doable to do that, for sure, if you have the space and someone to help you build that, of course. But I don't know any channels off the top of my head, but I know there are some. I've seen them. I've watched them. So I bet you if you go to, after the live stream, go to the search bar and type in DIY sound booth or recording booth or VO booth, voiceover booth, something to that effect. And I'm sure you'll see a handful of them, if not more. Because it's really going to depend on your needs too, right? So if you get the basic idea of what you're going to need, what it needs to look like, it's really going to depend on the dimensions and like what room you have available, right? How tall you need it, how wide you need it, that sort of thing. But at least you'll have an idea of, again, the air gaps, what kind of door, what kind of materials is what I'm looking for to use inside, to make sure that you have proper ventilation in it, quiet ventilation in it. If you need to run cables through the wall, that kind of thing. So you'll get some really great ideas and insight just by watching these videos, and then apply that information, that education, to what you need in the space that you need it in. Rebecca says to Tanya, TARDIS Blue Booth. Yes, have you not seen those? Google it. Google it. Dwight is here. Hey, Dwight. Good morning to you, Angela, and all of my friends. It's a great day to be alive. Can you tell I got 10 hours? How did you manage that? How do you manage 10 hours of sleep? Lucky if I get 6, 5. Paul says, generally, ISO shields are a waste of money and achieve very little. They sit behind the mic. They are where almost no sound is picked up. They're a marketing comm. Spend your money on something else. Just treat your space. Just treat the walls around you. I think your money is better served that way. That way you're also not like, stuck in one position and yeah, I don't know. I have to agree with Paul. Dylan says, I don't want your rack, Caesar. I need your rack. Okay. PG-13, gentlemen. Gregory says, hello, Angelinos and Angelinos. It's great that I created the sound closet in my apartment. Thick clothes and blankets are good sound absorbers. I love it. Might need to put some foam here and there. Little adjustments here and there. Caesar says to Jim, then you might want to consider treating as many surfaces as possible as to allow both sitting and standing performances. Be aware that blankets can only absorb certain frequencies. So in your wisdom, Caesar, in lieu of just blankets, what else should they be adding? What's a good economical option, material-wise, that people can use in addition to or instead of blankets? What do you think is best, Caesar? Sean says, I have both a treated room and an ISO shield. ISO shield is necessary for me to reduce noise from outside traffic. It works for me, but I get how it's not for everybody. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. Peak Parable says, I would agree with the blanket fort. That is how I'm recording currently. I mean, if you think about it, if you go like take a vacation or something, and then you're taking all of your travel gear with you, and you're fully prepared and capable to record something on the fly while you're traveling, what do you do then? You can probably gut the hotel room closet, take the ironing board out and all of the hangers and throw all of the pillows. You could probably even call room service and get some extra blankets and pillows. Shove all of those in there, go in there and put a blanket over your head and record that way. I've heard of people doing that. I mean, it's possible. So, again, don't have to be pretty. Rewind? What does that mean? I'm Gen X. I can't read that stuff. I don't know. Peak Parable says, to do a good check, I would also get a sound check from yes, absolutely. Yes, I mean, hiring an audio engineer is never going to be a bad thing. Jim says, I don't get all technical with my sound space. I came up with an idea and saw one recommendation by Lenny B that essentially did what I am doing. There you go. And then laugh. What's the what? Scratch the what? 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 Gregory says, don't forget to feed the algorithm by clicking on the thumbs up so that the number of folks tuned in matches the number of thumbs up. Yes, please. We have 45 people watching right now. If all of you just kind of tickle that thumbs up, that would be greatly appreciated. And if you're watching this in Team Replay, please consider subscribing. It does help the algorithm and helps to push my face and content into the faces of those people that want to also achieve this voiceover dream, and the hopes that maybe we can help them, you know, from doing dumb stuff like we all probably did in the beginning. Caesar says to Joe, Room EQ Wizard is really awesome. A bit much for most folks though. I do use it for calibration. What is EQ Wizard? Room EQ Wizard. What? ¿Qué es esto? What is this? Ken P says, oh yeah, first time visiting, but have really enjoyed and learned a lot from your other videos. Good. I'm glad. Dwight says, Tangelin alert. I just have to say that I really love and appreciate your presentation sound and style. It is smooth, comfortable, reassuring, fun, and very natural. I try. I mean, what would be the point in trying to be something that I'm not, you know? There's no point in that. I especially noticed that it is this morning as I was reflecting on my own style and having been doing a few video presentations lately myself. So kudos to you and keep it up. You are appreciated. Oh, thank you, Dwight. I appreciate you. I enjoy these. Joe says to Caesar, my engineer brain wants to see the graphs to confirm my ears. You guys are all technical. Ty Condolar says, hi, Angela. Hello. I worked with Tim Tippett on my Snap Studio booth. I did too. I loved him. Tim, you're the best. I bought a Seni 416 and an Apollo Twin X with 2 plugins, C-Suite, Vox, and Manly plugin. I'm sure that came at the recommendation of Tim because he also tried to get me to get that plugin. Noise floor of -70 dB on average, best I can do for now. I mean, that's good. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You don't want it too low. You want to have some kind of natural noise floor. You don't want it to be completely silent. That's not what we're going for, right? And not to you directly, but to everybody watching. You want it to be, especially if you're doing audiobooks, you want it to be low enough that you can achieve that noise floor standard of -60 or below. But you don't want to be like completely silent and have no ambient room noise at all. It just sounds weird. Sounds strange. And it could be that you could be mistaken by, or you could be mistaken for being an AI if it's too quiet. It's just unnatural. You know? Kat says, with no headphones while you record, do you read a few pages, check recording, then continue, or record a chapter, then check audio? I will record a chapter or 2 or 3, depending on how big the book is or how much there is to do. And then even sometimes when I'm doing voiceover jobs, I'll record them all. I might go back and check, I can see my DAW, so I can see the spectral display. I can see if there's something amiss, usually. I think there was a time recently where it for some odd reason, it recorded in like super slow-mo. I think it was just a bad connection. I'm not sure what it was, but I didn't know until after the fact. After I had recorded like 5 jobs, so I had to go back and re-record them all. But that was once in years, many years that's happened. So, you know, it happens. But to answer your question, I'll record a chapter or 2 or just do all the voiceover work recorded all at once. And then I'll go back and do my processing, my editing, and then send the jobs out to whoever they belong to. Like I've been doing this long enough to trust that everything is fine. And in that one situation just a few days ago, that was sort of an anomaly, right? That doesn't typically happen. So for the most part, I trust that everything is just A-okay, right? Dwight says, I especially noticed it this morning as I was, oh, that was the continuation. I already read that. David says, good to see you again, Angela. Hello from Hamilton, Ontario. Well, hello, David. Welcome back. Jim says, I'm with you, Angela. I don't wear headphones when I record. If there is a problem, it'll show up in the spectral analyzer. And that's kind of how I look at it. So when people ask if you need to print your copy out when you're recording, or if you need a tablet to, I mean, do what you got to do to have the copy, but you want to have everything on the screen, at the very least your script, and be able to see your DAW. You want to be able to see your DAW as you're recording, because you want to see if there's something amiss, if it's even recording. Maybe you forgot to hit the record button. You want to see that it's actively recording and recording correctly, right? There's no blips, there's no clips, there's no buzzing, there's, nothing that's amiss as you're recording, right? That sort of takes away from having to hear it to make sure that it's right, because you can see if there's anything going on while you're recording. So you can see the script and then just glance over, intermittently, just make sure that it's recording properly. That's pretty much how I do it. Tanya says to Kat, I use punch and roll so I can listen back on my computer speakers when I have to stop to move the page and make a correction, etc. Otherwise, I don't check until the edit. Paul says, regarding the artboard and acoustic tiles, that is exactly what I've done. Works for me. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people have done that too. With the poster board and then adhering those acoustic tiles to them. Great minds think alike. Right, Paul? Jim says, when your other half is a quilter, you have no lack for absorbing. There you go. There you go. You should probably talk her into creating some quilts for the VO community. She could take custom orders. I'm always thinking of multiple streams of income. Just a suggestion. Dylan says, I don't need any foam in my new studio. It's only a 5x6, but I have a 4x2 acoustic panel on every wall with a 4-inch air gap and a cloud the same size hanging down 6 inches. That sounds cool. Do you have pictures of it in Discord? If you don't, post them. Kat says to Jim, you can display the quilts. Yeah, exactly. Proudly. It's tracking. Hoping. Oh, I'm hoping I don't need any foam. I gotcha. Dwight says, fantastic idea you had with the poster board mounted foam. I had the exact same problem as you with the tacks. Then I tried 2-sided industrial strength and not 3M spray adhesive. I think I used the Gorilla Glue variant for spray adhesive, not 3M. It was like the Gorilla Glue. Gorilla Glue? Caesar says the AI assistance is tracking. Okay. You can set it to track your head, chest, either hands or feet for feet purposes. You and Dylan. David said, with all of the goodies, all the treats. I said it. That's cake. Oh, God. Finally found some donuts and added coffee and cake. I like it. I like it. Jim said, Discord is a necessary expense for this work. It's the only way I grow in it. Our Discord group is the bomb. Just saying. I am biased. But pretty amazing group of people in our Discord. Kat says, if I have a pillow foam square rectangle on hand, suggest to cut it smaller or leave it in bigger pieces. Pillow foam. You mean like the stuff that you, like if you're like sewing a pillow or crocheting a pillow, like making plushies, you have the foam that goes in the middle kind of foam. Is that what you mean? I would say just, I don't know. Caesar, I would say bigger pieces probably, so it's more dense. That's the way I think, but I think it's going to depend on where you're using it. I don't know. I'm also thinking like fire concerns as well. Narration by Nicole. Sorry I'm late. Bringing some apple. Oh, I love apple. You know what? Cherry fritters. Cherry fritters is where it's at. Sorry. For those of you who like apple fritters, it's fine. But I'm a cherry fritter girl. I know. Tanya says, I have a 6x7 room with thick walls, old British house, thick carpet, moving blankets over furniture, hexagonal wall panels in blank spots, curtains in front of spare coats, and gaming pad. You've got an awful lot of buffering, stuffing, padding. What's a better word? Y'all know what I'm talking about. 21st Century Pentecostal says, my studio is my happy place. Same, but I am constantly improving it. Yeah, I don't know if that ever really truly ends. That need to tweak. Alicia says, I see many VO YouTubers who keep saying you need this and you need that, or else you can't start voiceover jobs and it takes a year to do it. I saw a video about that this morning on the way to work. Yeah. I don't, yeah. I'm not going to go down that road, but I think you guys all know what I'm about to say, or what I was going to say. Yeah. Dwight says, for the Blanket Fort crew, we've all been there. Blanket Fort crew, I think is what you meant. See if you can get old theater curtains. That might be a stretch for most people, but I see where you're going with that. I have found sets at various Goodwills. Interesting. They are designed to kill sound issues between areas. That's a good idea. Or you could probably check, like if a theater is closing down, obviously, or like, what's the Craigslist? What's the other one? Macari? If you check one of those places where you can buy stuff secondhand, maybe. Kay last name says, how does one obtain a non-squeaky, non-creaky chair? I asked myself that same question. When I went full time, I said, okay, I'm going to gut this room and redo it completely the way that I want to. Because I also want to invest in things that I can have for the long term, because I don't want to have to change this room up again, right? So, chair, when it came to thinking chair, I asked myself, who sits for long, extended periods of time? Gamers, YouTubers, right? Because they stream, they do it for hours on end. And I want it to be comfortable. I want it to be quiet. I want to invest in something that I can have for a very long time, because I don't want to have to do this again. So then I came across Secret Labs. And they have tons of different chairs, different sizes. And I mean, they're totally adjustable. Like the armrests are totally adjustable. They're super padded. Mine, of course, is, the Targaryen sigil, but you could get any of the Game of Thrones. I mean, there's all kinds of video game themes. There's just solid colors. There's skins that you can buy now for them. So if I wanted to change this one into something else without having to buy a new chair, I could. They have a great warranty on them. I mean, I've had this chair for over 5 years now, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It hasn't torn. It doesn't make noise. It's still super comfortable. Great chair. And no, I have not been paid for that. I'm just giving you my honest opinion. Jim says, I've been standing the whole time. So far, no problems. Well, I think you've been pretty lucky so far then. I don't know how you're not tired. Anne says, I am mostly happy with my space. My challenge is that we are digital nomads, living in a motorhome, and my recording space is constantly in a new environment. My noise floor does not stay consistent. You know, I have met a handful of digital nomads that are into VO and that have treated their, like a portion, a space, a section of their van, bus, whatever they were living in, to accommodate like a VO recording space. I've known a number of them. So who is it that does a vlog? I want to say it's Alice Everdeen. I think she does a vlog. She has a bus. She lives on a bus with her husband, and she also does VO from her bus. So Google her. She might show up. I think that's what she's under. I could be wrong. But I bet you if you searched on YouTube, you could find them. They might have some great tips for you. Kat says, I'm also thinking of a movable screen for outside the booth, between the booth and the window, and bookcases on the outside house window wall. Yeah, I think I need some additional padding in this window that might help keep the noise down a little bit more. So I'm getting ideas too. Caesar says, space to move around is important for me. I'm claustrophobic, which is why I decided to go with the studio instead of a booth. I can sit, stand, heck, float if necessary. Yeah, you have a very large space. Anne says to Dwight, I love the theater curtain reuse idea. Kay last name says, what do you use for the ceiling base? For example, if I were to use a moving blanket, should I wrap it around something that fits over the space of the shape of the space? I mean, you could. I just tacked it with not like push pins, but they're like industrial thumbtacks. They're like big thumbtacks. And I just tacked it into the ceiling. A couple layers. Put a couple layers up there. Dwight says, blanket forts built around a structure, PVC pipes, etc., do have the advantage of air gapping, which helps too. If you're layering, right? If you have moving blankets on, or whatever material you're using, on the outside of the PVC, and then also draped in the inside of the PVC as well. Caesar says to Jim, if and when you score a 12-hour audiobook, standing will inevitably become a challenge, even if you record in 2 to 3 hour intervals. Yeah, sitting is usually your best bet for audiobooks. Joe says, I tested sitting narration, but I've stood for singing and felt weird to sit. So, I mean, do what you got to do. You know? Nicole says, I am curious about people's opinion on using a Chaotica eyeball. Go away, frog. I am on the fence about buying one. I've never used one, and I've heard mixed reviews on them. In my head, it's the same thing as a Shield or a box. I mean, how much it could help in addition to treating your room, I don't know, but I think I'm still a firm believer of treating the entire space that you're in. I mean, adding the Chaotica eyeball in addition to treating your space might help. It might make you sound a little bit fuzzy. I don't know. But in my head, it's the same as having like an ISO Shield or the ISO box. Kat says, has anyone used solar lights versus electric lights? In your booth? Solar lights? How do you have solar lights? What am I missing? Indoors. How do you have solar lights indoors? What do you mean? Jim says evolution of technique design is just part of it. Of course. Callie, am I saying that right? Callie says, what's the best way to treat your desktop? Oh, I have a gigantic gaming pad that I use on my desktop. Or if you don't want to be super fancy or you need it now, just grab a towel or a couple of them, and just put them on top of your desktop. That'll keep the reflections from hitting your microphone. Caesar says shields work best in conjunction with the treated room. I can help enhance the cardioid properties of your mic, reducing sensitivity to noise directly behind the mic and increasing focus in the front. Saxon says, nope. Like a box that goes around the mic. I gotcha. Okay. So the ISO booth that you were referring to earlier is just the box. It's not like a booth. It's more like a box. Copy. Caesar says, but there are good shields and there are bad shields. And ultimately, nothing beats a well-treated, soundproof room or booth. I agree. I think you're better off just treating the room. Caesar says to Callie, a nice desk mat can help. Good mic positioning and technique will also reduce bounce from the desk, monitor, and other flat surfaces. But don't overthink. Focus on treating walls first. He's not wrong. However, there can be some bounce back, some reverb from the desk as well. But again, if you don't have a desk mat, don't want to invest in one, don't want to wait for one to arrive and you need it now, just grab a couple towels, you know, and put them on the desktop. Kat says, has anyone used cork under equipment to help with vibrations? Does it work? I have never used cork under equipment. I'm not sure. I've heard of it being used in walls or on walls to help with reverb and sound quality, but never like as a buffer underneath equipment. Caesar, help. Or anyone else, if anyone else has used cork, let me know. Tanya says, definitely not soundproof here. I know now all the most popular times for flights from Manchester International Airport. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do this and you need to have the times in which you can record, you need to start taking mental notes or just writing down, you know, what times of day and what days, perhaps, when noise is most present and not record at those times and days, right? You'll start taking note of this stuff. Kay last name says, Angela, do you have doubled up moving blankets? I do in some places. In some places. I have, the acoustic foam behind moving blankets here. And then where I didn't have enough acoustic foam, I just doubled up in blankets. So the ceiling, because it's harder to mount tiles up there. So I just doubled up in the moving blankets, and then also on a couple areas where there was more noise from the outside, I doubled up, right? So just kind of, you know, think of it as where does most noise come from and treat that, whether it's from the outside or the inside, if that makes sense. Jim says one of the biggest benefits in this space is Anderson windows. They keep the vehicle noise down, can't help lawnmowers, jets, and heavy equipment working in the area. Yeah, unless you have a soundproof booth like a Whisper Room or a Studio Bricks VO Edition booth, it's not really going to be completely 100% soundproof. And then even with the booths, they're not 100% soundproof, but there's like a 30, 40 decibel difference, if not more, right? And in terms of reduction, sound reduction with those booths, definitely helps. Tanya says, shucks. Thanks, Angela. You know, we all melt every time you talk in our group sessions. Sage. Hey, Sage. Good afternoon, everyone. I brought cinnamon rolls and a canopy frame with grommeted moving blankets and zip ties. Pillows in between the blanket walls. No, not perfect, but works for me right now. I don't like the word perfect. Satisfied. It's satisfactory, right? It works. Anne says, RV booth behind our bedroom TV with a flip-down desk, paired with a vocal booth to go acoustic room panel that is hung with carabiners on removable bars. Look at you. Taken up, down daily and stores under our bed. Look at you. That's fantastic. So creative. I mean, with limited space and storage ability, you have to get really creative. Kudos to you. That's awesome. Alicia says, I wanted to get the portable box booth to start out with, then move on to something better if or when needed. And again, when people say box or booth, which is it? Is it the box that goes around the mic or the booth that you sit in? That's how I differentiate those words. Or is it more like, I've also seen They're like the voting booths, right? Where it's just, it basically just covers like your top half. Like it just surrounds over top of you in like your top half. So you're standing like in like a voter. That's what it reminds me of, like a voter booth, right? Because even then, that's not going to completely stop anything else from like bleeding into your recording space. Anything that comes from below is going to, your mic's going to pick that up. I mean, probably not as much, but still, I don't know. Angel, great name, says, yes, had Dwight and Caesar and Platinum Group help me build my booth. They are very helpful. Yes, they are. Anne says, you can make a space anywhere. Yes, you can. If you're creative and you're driven enough, you absolutely can. Even in space, Caesar says. I mean, if you can get to space. Anne says to Caesar, I do miss my infinite noise floor that I used to have. Joe says to Anne, love the idea of a digital nomad life. I mean, who wouldn't want that? That's awesome. To travel around and work at the same time. Caesar says to Anne, it did sound like space, to be honest. Masonry Construction says, Angela, my FiberTech handles mastering only for me at about $5 per finished hour. Really? I first send my files through ACX Labs, so he is not editing anything. Descript edits like a doc, 80% fast. Interesting. So he does the processing, basically, like the EQ, like the mastering part. Interesting. Sean says, my walls have about 3 inches of foam layered by moving blankets with cheap sound squares on top. Yeah, Joe, I'm with you. I don't know what the REW means. What does that mean? What am I missing? Dylan says, I've done 14 audiobooks and countless Fiverr and Upwork jobs in my blanket fort, so it can be done. Yes. Caesar says, okay. Economical solution. DIY rock wool panels. Marine plywood frame. Stuffed with rock wool. Covered with simple breathable fabric. There you go. Oh, okay. Room EQ Wizard. Thank you. We can chat on Discord if you like. There you go, Jem. Caesar says, Room EQ Wizard. Okay. Is a tool engineer's emphasis on engineers here used for room acoustic measurement. So you can calibrate speakers, know where to apply sound treatment, do reverb checks, etc. Gotcha. Donnie's here. Hey, Donnie. I'm terribly late, so I brought homemade cinnamon rolls. Also, no, 72. No. I'm an introvert. I don't like my face, knowing that my face is that big. Do I? Go Team Apollo Twin X and Team Senny. In my case, MK4. I love this gear. The Apollo is so great with the onboard plugins for the feed-in. Sorry, Caesar. I don't remember the correct verbiage. Yeah, that's what he said. Dwight said, don't forget to slap those like and share buttons. It helps a lot. But is hell on the keyboard. Don't slaps. Just click them. Be gentle on your equipment. I don't recommend smashing, punching, grabbing, slapping. I don't remember. No. Just click it. Caesar says to Dwight, it's okay. It's called Unison Preamp Emulation and Onboard Digital Signal Processing. Fun stuff and a mouthful. Saxon says, true. I should raid my quilter mom's stash. Do it. Do it. Gregory says, by the way, I meant to say Angelinas and Angelina. That's what I thought you meant. That's why I was like, Angelinos and... Do we... I think I knew what you meant. We're good. I'm still waiting for the coffee to kick in. Yeah. Same... Dwight says, I did use 3M 77 spray glue. It worked well, but some fell off. Then I realized I was supposed to use the spray on both the wall and the foam. Ta-da! Then it worked. 12 times the charm. Kat says from earlier, foam for bench seats, not cotton batting. That's what I was thinking of, cotton batting. Thank you. Okay, so it's pretty dense then, I would imagine. Caesar says, the high density foam stuff. I think you can cut them in any shape you like. It won't affect absorption properties, just make sure you have sufficient coverage on the wall. Rebecca says to Alicia, I truly believe it's all a matter of what you put in is what you get out of it. Agree. Not always money that helps, for sure, but your time, effort, and perseverance. That deserves an ovation, Rebecca. Amazing. Eric says, Eric Grams. I had to do it. Hi all. My booth is where I spend my time even when not recording. I owe a lot to the advice and expertise of the Platinum Group members for the effectiveness of my booth. So you just like hang out in your booth? Is it like a common area that you turned into your booth? Whoa. Clicking too many buttons almost did a bad thing. Kat says, Angela, add Secret Labs to your equipment list. Like on my website? I guess I could. Like a link to their site or something for chair stuff? Chair ideas? What is a chaotic eyeball? Jim, that's so funny because I had the same reaction. It's basically just a big ball that mounts on the front of your microphone. It's called a chaotic eyeball. I could imagine hearing that for the first time and going, what in the heck are you guys talking about? Ken P says, I want a recipe for cherry fritters. I have this donut shop right down the road that sells both technically, cherry fritters and apple fritters. But they're fried. Well, I guess they're all fried, aren't they? Hungry. Kat says, I have a string of solar lights that have the catcher panel on one end. Interesting. I would imagine that either way you go, I mean, some lamps are just going to emit more of a frequency of sound than others. So I think that might be something worth testing just to see if they make any kind of sound. Jim says, there's a tomato sandwich with my name on it. Gotta go claim it. Go get it. Enjoy that tomato sandwich. Caesar says, oh dear God, never use the chaotic eyeball. It's like a shield you stick right on the mic. It makes you sound horrible. There you go. Even the name is terrible. Gramps Radio says, no booth is soundproof. They are sound treated. Yes, I mean, like I was saying earlier, even if you purchased a Whisper room or a Studio Bricks room, like a booth that you can purchase and then it's sent to your house in pieces and you assemble it, it's more soundproof than like something that you build on your own, but you're not really ever going to be completely soundproof. There's always going to be some kind of sound that bleeds in, but these booths dramatically reduce the amount of sound that comes in. The soundproof is just a word that we use, but it's not 100% going to be soundproof, right? You still probably want to be cognizant of when traffic is the most noisy, or when, like in my case, where you have kids outside playing on the playground, or, trucks rolling by or something, Here's Caesar's take on cork. Is okay. Rubber gym mats also work. Playroom tiles also work, but depends on severity of vibrations. You may be able to get away with just using a high-pass filter. Joe wants to know about playroom tiles. I mean, you could totally use those if you wanted to. Alicia says, I was talking about the portable booth for now. Although listening to you as well as reading the comments, I may consider improvising. I mean, why not? Caesar says to Joe, yep, the ones that look like huge puzzle pieces that lock together. I see those all the time at those, and also like gym mat tiles at, I can't think of the, like Ross and Marshall's. I see those all the time there. Goodness. Joe says, exactly. You have a pile of them in the storage room. There you go. Go break them out of storage. Ben Spencer VO says, just booked my first job recording in my closet with a USB microphone. Good for you. So excited. What should I upgrade first? My space or my mic? Space. Hands down, space. Focus on your space. Space, space, space. Always first. Get your space down. Then upgrade your mic. Van Deen says, afternoon all. The only improvement I'd make to my studio is adding air conditioning. Currently 27 degrees Celsius and 84 degrees Fahrenheit and hotter in the booth. That's no good for a cold weather loving Northeast Englander. If you're gonna build a booth, anything that you're gonna build, make sure that you have ventilation. Or a way to cool it down, warm it up, preferably. Again, number one rule, you be comfortable. Or as comfortable as you can be in your space. And then accommodate, move everything around you to accommodate you. You are what makes this happen. So you are most important. You be comfortable first. It then says, Amrock, the room mode calculator is a cool tool too. It gives you some pointers of where the room nodes will be for mic, speaker, listening position selection. Oh, cool. Amrock. I'm writing that down. Amrock. Thank you. Katya says, I'm ditching the shield. Alicia says, thank you to Rebecca. Jennifer Dixon says, my closet is padded, all walls and ceiling with old quilts and blankets and pillows. We know what you meant. It's okay. You can misspell stuff. No one's judgy here. It's fine. Eric Graham says, my booth is in a spare bedroom. Oh, okay. I do have a TV in there for when I'm not. I gotcha. Okay. Multi-purpose room. Caesar says, fun thing, a well-treated recording booth or studio is an excellent place to watch movies in, especially if you use good speakers and a subwoofer. If you're an audiophile, like myself, yes. Dialogue clarity is sublime compared to an open room. Tomato sandwich. Tomato sandwich. Jim says, I thought you were eating a tomato sandwich, Jim. You told us all you were going to eat your tomato sandwich. Where is your tomato sandwich? Did you not claim it? Chaotic eyeball equals oversized Nerf ball, basically. Heard a DJ say his job called for talking to a Nerf ball. Eric Grimes says, I'm in a 6x6x6 blanket box with an opening in front of me. Caesar says, a booth can dramatically reduce sound transmission for the cleanest recordings. No booth is soundproof, but we're arguing semantics. Not even, I don't even know how to pronounce that. Chambers are completely soundproof. Anechoic? Anechoic, right? Stop using big words, Caesar. Caesar says to VoiceOver Van Deen, I feel your pain. I recently added air conditioning to my studio due to noise challenges. I couldn't compromise the soundproofing, so it took a while to nail a good aircon solution. Dylan says, traffic noise? You city folk are funny. I only have to worry about the Amish horses making noise when they go by or planting or harvest season. Okay, Dylan, unnecessary, Dylan. Rubbing it in. Remember talking to Nerf balls. VoiceOver Van Deen says to Caesar, I'd like to, but can't really justify the cost for the 10 or so days a year that I'd really appreciate it. Mind you, global warming might push the issue and make me get a split unit. Yeah. I mean, you just have to sort of do what you can, when you can, with what you can, right? Everybody's situation is going to be a little bit different. Speaking of air conditioning, I'm kicking mine on right now, so hold on. You might hear it, but it's getting warm. It's 88 degrees right now. It's getting warm down here, especially with the lights on. That's why I can't record during the summertime, only in small bursts, because it's noisy. Dwight says, I knew a commercial VO actor who has a large plastic cooler that he insulated with expanding foam and then adapted it into a portable booth for when he travels and goes on vacation. I think I've seen that guy. That's interesting. Holy smokes, we've been on for about an hour and a half already. Holy Moses, no wonder I'm hungry. Oh my gosh. Okay. This was a great session. You guys, everybody that submitted comments, thank you. I mean, I hope this has helped those of you that are just getting started or in the middle of building your space or thinking about building your space. I hope this has given you some direction, at least in perhaps, and some ideas of what to use, maybe what not to use, what to, not even bother using. But if you have something that you guys want to talk about as a group, again, as a community, again, this is not just Angela Hour. I mean, if you have something to contribute to the group that's going to be helpful, or if you, as someone that's brand new, you want to learn more about something and talk about something as a group, then please put that idea in the comments below. That could be something that we talk about in the future. That's where most of these topics come from, is generally the most common question that I get in the weeks leading up to our conversations is how I base these, is what's everybody wanting to know more about. Let's talk about it, right? So let me know what you want to talk about so we can talk about something else in these upcoming community chats. But until then, my Platinum group members, I'll see you guys on Thursday. Looking forward to it. And for the rest of yous, I'll see you next week, next Tuesday, same bat time, same bat channel. I will see you all then. Bye. Thank you for listening to She-Lancer Mom Entrepreneur with VoiceOver Angela. That's me. For more information about me, visit my website, voiceoverangela.com, or hop on over to my YouTube channel, VoiceOver Angela. Again, thanks for listening. Have a great day.